Nervous laughter. There's nothing quite like your own body betraying you with a tiny giggle right when you're trying to look serious. One moment you're stressed or scared, the next your face is auditioning for a comedy show you didn't sign up for. This reflex is ancient. Early humans used strained, breathy laughs to signal they weren't a threat. Primates still flash those awkward fear smiles to say, "I come in peace." In a tense group, one shaky laugh could even act like a pressure release, helping everyone calm down after a scare by releasing tension all at once. Fast forward to today, and the instinct is wildly out of context. Laughing while receiving bad news doesn't soothe anyone, it just makes you look like you're insensitive. The reflex still vents internal stress, but socially, it's a landmine. It's a leftover threat-diffusing trick from prehistory, now firing in exam rooms, funerals, and awkward elevator rides, basically nature's worst timing. Contagious yawning. You're in a serious meeting, everyone trying to look alert, and one person lets out a giant yawn. Suddenly, half the room is stretching their jaws like walruses. That's contagious yawning, a reflex so old it predates group meetings by many thousands of years. Back in early human groups, this was basically a group-wide status update. One person yawned to signal a shift from rest to alertness, and the whole tribe synced up. Lions, ostriches, even chimps still use yawns as silent alarms to coordinate vigilance. That makes perfect sense in the wild. You don't want the one sleepy lion guarding the entrance alone. But in modern life, we don't need to align nap schedules with coworkers. Yet the reflex still fires. Now it just creates awkward chain reactions, especially if you yawn during your boss's inspirational monologue. The weird twist is that people with higher empathy are more likely to catch yawns, meaning your brain is trying to bond while your face says otherwise. Evolution built a tribal group signal. Today, it's just a meeting room meme. Holding your breath. You've probably had this happen. You're squatting your personal best, fixing a tiny screw, or locked into your screen, and suddenly realize you haven't breathed in way too long. That's the concentration breath hold, a leftover instinct from the ancient freeze response. When early humans sensed a predator nearby, the smartest move was to go completely still. No rustling, no chest movement, no audible breathing. Staying silent made you harder to spot and sharpened your hearing, which could mean the difference between becoming dinner or making dinner. Our brains still treat intense focus as if we're listening for footsteps in the brush, so the moment we zoom in on a task, your breathing hits pause. Modern life usually doesn't require stealth mode when doing taxes or writing emails. Yet this glitch shows up in almost everyone, especially during screen time. Instead of improving performance, it can leave you lightheaded, tense, or mysteriously exhausted. The only people who still benefit are those needing perfect stillness, like surgeons or precision athletes. For the rest of us, the ancient freeze reflex just makes everyday tasks feel strangely breathless. Cracking voice. You know that moment when you're speaking calmly, and then your voice suddenly leaps an octave, and it sounds like you're squeaking like a mouse? That jump scare noise comes from stress tightening the tiny muscles in your larynx until your vocal cords lose their smooth vibration and break like a cheap guitar string. In our evolutionary past, this wasn't a strategy so much as collateral damage from adrenaline. When early humans were frightened, their voices sometimes wobbled in the same way young primates squeak when they're scared, which unintentionally signaled vulnerability or a need for support. Fast forward to modern life, and the reflex is completely useless. It doesn't win sympathy, diffuse conflict, or make your speech better. It simply announces to the universe that your nervous system is misfiring while you pretend everything is fine. Nose flaring. We've all seen this scene. Someone's getting worked up, their breathing quickens, and suddenly their nostrils flare, like they're gearing up for the charge in an action movie. That emotional nose flare is automatic. It widens the nasal passages so more air rushes in, a mini oxygen boost baked into our biology. For early humans, that change in oxygen mattered. If you were about to sprint, wrestle a rival, or react to danger, extra oxygen meant more power. The flare also acted as a visual signal of intensity, a sort of "I'm ready if you are" face that other humans and animals immediately understood. Modern life rarely calls for dramatic physical showdowns, yet the reflex still pops up when we're annoyed at traffic or animated during a heated conversation. The extra air doesn't help you win an argument over whose fault it is for the rush hour traffic. Mostly, it just broadcasts your mood to everyone in the room. It's a leftover part of the fight or flight response firing in situations where the biggest threat is just an inconvenience. Ticklish laughter. Getting tickled triggers one of the weirdest glitches in the human body. You laugh even when you desperately want it to stop. A fingertip to the ribs, and suddenly you're writhing, squeaking, and defending your armpits like national treasure. That reflex comes from ancient play fighting. Young primates learned to protect vulnerable spots through tickle wrestling, and the laughter signaled, "This is friendly, not an attack." The shrieky laugh kept the play going, strengthened social bonds, and helped youngsters practice escape moves long before any real danger showed up. Fast forward, that same reflex mostly traps adults in helpless giggle fits they didn't consent to. It doesn't teach combat skills or help you bond with coworkers when someone pokes your side during a group photo. The body still treats unexpected touch as a play cue, forcing out laughter even if you're dying inside. It's a leftover alarm from childhood roughhousing, now mostly useful for reminding us we're exactly one poke away from total dignity collapse. Jaw clenching. If you've ever opened your mouth after a stressful day and realized your jaw feels like it's been in a walnut cracking competition, that's jaw clenching. Biologically, this reflex made perfect sense. Clenching the jaw tightened the entire face and neck, braced the skull, and primed the body for a defensive chomp if a predator or rival got too close. Researchers even recognize a built-in stress behavior called the gosis, a grinding instinct believed to originate from literally sharpening the teeth for combat. This behavior shows up most when we're asleep, because the conscious brain can't interfere. Wild animals grind or chatter their teeth when threatened for the same reason. It's a built-in defense script. In a life-or-death struggle, tensing the jaw could protect your face, keep you quiet, and ready you to bite and hold on. Now, the closest things we fight are everyday nuisances. Jaw clenching won't help with deadlines or traffic jams. It just leads to headaches, cracked teeth, and dentists making stacks off your nightly bruxism. It's a prehistoric alarm that still fires under modern psychological stress, even though you are extremely unlikely to win any battles with your incisors. Anxious foot tapping. A quiet room can be perfectly still, yet your foot is suddenly bouncing like it's trying to send Morse code for SOS. That restless tap isn't a personality quirk. It's an ancient motor running in the background, firing up whenever your body senses pent-up energy with nowhere to go. Early humans survived long, tense stretches by keeping their muscles lightly primed. Small, rhythmic movements kept legs warm, circulation high, and attention sharp. It was the biological equivalent of stretching before sprinting, except the sprint might have involved outrunning something with teeth. A jittery limb meant you were alert, awake, and ready. Now the nearest predator is an email from your boss, yet your foot still drums away like it's prepping for battle. It doesn't speed up lines, meetings, or life. Mostly it just shakes tables, annoys coworkers, and gives away exactly how wired you are. Evolution gave us a built-in metronome. Modern life turned it into background noise. Sucking teeth sound. This is that tiny angry hiss you make through your teeth when something annoys you. It's the human equivalent of a pressure cooker releasing one sharp puff of steam. Everyone knows the sound, because everyone has made it while trying not to commit a felony in public. Long before we had words, primates used small mouth noises to warn each other without starting a full brawl. A quick hiss or click said you were irritated but not about to throw hands. Humans kept the habit as a low-level stop that signal during mild conflicts. Today it's mostly pointless. Nobody gives you extra respect for making a dental sound effect. In offices, it's basically a free sample of your attitude. Still, versions of it show up worldwide. Mediterranean tongue clicks, European tisk sounds, African teeth kissing. It's a global mini grumble our ancestors left behind. Eyebrow flash greeting. If you spot someone you know, your eyebrows do a tiny jump even before you form a sentence. It's so quick you might miss it, but your face already said hello a full second before your mouth caught up. That blink and you miss it brow pop comes straight from our primate past. Monkeys and apes use the same micro-gesture to say, "I see you, I come in peace." The move widens the eyes, pulls attention to the face, and broadcasts recognition without any noise. Human infants do it too, long before learning words. Today, the eyebrow flash still fires off, but language and waves do most of the talking. Majority of people never notice it, partly because the flash is over in about 0.2 of a second. Still, if you pay attention, you'll catch it everywhere. Friends spotting each other across a cafe, coworkers passing in the hallway. It's a little fossil of friendliness sitting right above your eyes. Group laughter. Ever been in a group where one person starts laughing and suddenly everyone else is wheezing, even if nobody actually heard the joke? That's the group laughter trigger, our built-in tendency to join the laugh track whether we mean to or not. This reflex goes way back. Early humans used laughter as a relief valve after danger passed. Picture a tense standoff with a predator, then the threat vanishes, and the whole group erupts into breathy, almost panting laughter. Primates still do a version of this during rough play, an open-mouth rhythmic pant that tells everyone this isn't a real fight. Shared laughter helped diffuse aggression, settle nerves, and glue the group together. We still laugh in groups today, but mostly to bond or smooth tiny social wrinkles. The survival function is gone, but the contagion is still wired in. Hearing laughter lights up motor circuits in your brain as if your face is already halfway to joining in. It's one of evolution's friendliest leftovers, a reflex that used to save your tribe, now mostly saving you from feeling left out. Photic sneeze. You step out of a dark cinema, sunlight hits your face, and your nose launches a surprise attack. That's a photic sneeze. About 1/3 of people sneeze when bright light floods their eyes after darkness. Scientists even call it achoo syndrome, because apparently the reflex itself was not dramatic enough. As far as evolution goes, this looks less like a clever feature and more like sloppy wiring. The leading idea is that signals from the optic nerve spill over onto the trigeminal nerve, which controls the sneeze reflex, so a blast of light accidentally triggers a clear the nose response even when nothing is in there. Maybe, long ago, walking out of caves into dusty sunlight made that occasionally handy, but there is no solid evidence it was ever truly useful. Today it mostly adds mild chaos, like sneezing right as you exit a tunnel while driving. Harmless and thought to be genetic, and famously noted by Aristotle. It's one of evolution's purest glitches, a full-body oops coded into the nervous system. Fear smile. Ever catch yourself smiling when you're terrified, stressed, or absolutely not in the mood to be cheerful? That's the fear smile sneaking out. A flash of teeth your brain deploys even when your emotions are screaming for help. This weird reflex comes straight from primates, where baring teeth was a submissive, I'm harmless gesture used to diffuse tension. A lower-ranking monkey would pull back its lips to show it wasn't a threat, and over millions of years that anxious grimace gradually morphed into the human smile. What used to mean, please don't attack me, somehow became, nice to meet you. Today, the appeasement meaning is mostly gone, but the wiring remains. Under stress, some people instinctively grin during fear, pain, or confrontation, which only makes tense moments more awkward. Instead of calming a dominant rival like it once did, a fear grin during an argument or serious meeting just confuses everyone. It's an ancient safety signal that's been repurposed into friendliness, yet still pops out at the worst possible times. Catastrophizing. Remember that time you had a little cough and you think you have lung cancer and 2 months left to live? This mental habit is called catastrophizing, and it takes normal worries and inflates them into worst-case scenarios. It's not just you. Our ancestors survived by assuming danger first and asking questions later. If you thought every rustle in the grass was a snake, you lived longer than the optimist who blamed the wind. Evolution built our minds to overestimate threats because fear kept us alive. In modern life, though, this instinct mostly backfires. We imagine disasters that never happen, draining energy and fueling anxiety. A little caution keeps you safe, but when every minor problem feels apocalyptic, that's no longer a survival instinct. That's your brain auditioning for a drama it wrote itself. But even when the danger isn't real, your brain still craves stories about people who are. Gossiping. Humans love to talk, and especially to talk about each other, whether it's celebrity scandals or that one coworker who mysteriously works from home every Friday. Gossip is our species' favorite background noise. But it's not just pettiness, it's biology. Our primate cousins bonded by picking fleas out of each other's fur. Early humans had too many friends for that, so we used words instead. Gossip was social glue. It told us who to trust, who to avoid, and who stole the last bite of meat last week. According to anthropologist Robin Dunbar, gossip basically replaced grooming as our version of keeping the tribe together. That ancient bonding tool got stuck in modern overdrive. Today we gossip about movie stars, influencers, and people we'll never meet. It's social grooming without the survival part. Just endless chatter about who unfollowed who. Now, we just replace who cheated the tribe with who cheated on Love Island. And when those stories start shaping who we trust and who we don't, that's where tribal instincts kick in. In-group bias. Your brain still thinks it's living in a tribe of 50 people. That's why you instinctively trust people who look, talk, or think like you, and side-eye everyone else. It's called in-group bias, and it's one of evolution's oldest social hacks. Back in the savannah days, it made perfect sense. Sticking with your own clan meant food, protection, and someone to watch your back during lion season. Helping insiders and being wary of outsiders kept small groups alive. Cooperation within the group was survival 101, but that ancient code now runs in a world of billions. Instead of uniting tribes, it divides nations, workplaces, and comment sections. Online, it builds echo chambers where everyone agrees and no one listens. In real life, it fuels favoritism, nepotism, and the us versus them mode of thinking. Each of these tribal habits once helped us belong, but now they just build new walls. Of course, once we have an us, we need a them. And once we feel safe inside our tribe, our brains start chasing the next thing that kept early humans alive: reward. Dopamine addiction. Once upon a time, dopamine was your brain's survival GPS. It told you what was worth chasing: food, safety, connection, and gave you a little chemical high every time you got closer. In the wild, that system worked beautifully. A spark of motivation meant the difference between starving and finding dinner. But in the modern world, that same system is lost in the supermarket. Dopamine still screams, "Chase this," but now it's pointing at notifications, likes, and 30-second TikTok videos instead of berries or shelter. It's a compass built for scarcity, dropped into a world of infinite stimulation, and it keeps spinning in circles. Evolution never prepared us for abundance. Our ancestors' reward loops had natural limits. You couldn't hunt 24/7, and there was no such thing as mammoth memes back in the day. But today, every app, ad, and algorithm hijacks that ancient wiring, turning survival motivation into compulsive distraction. The chase never ends because the reward is endless and empty. What used to keep us alive now keeps us hooked. Dopamine used to guide us toward meaning. Now it traps us in loops of meaningless wanting. It's not evolution's fault. It just hasn't caught up yet. But when that endless chase leaves us restless and unsatisfied, our brains look for someone to blame. Scapegoating. When things go wrong, humans love to point fingers, ideally at someone else. In early human groups, this had a purpose. When food was scarce or tempers flared, blaming one outsider could calm the rest of the group down. It's like emotional crowd control, uniting the group by turning anger in a single direction. Anthropologists think scapegoating worked as a pressure valve. It didn't solve the problem, but it stopped the tribe from tearing itself apart. Today, that instinct often backfires. We still reach for simple explanations by finding a person to blame, even when the real issues are complex. History is full of examples. Entire communities blaming outsiders, or workplaces blaming one unlucky teammate. It feels satisfying in the moment, but it poisons trust and delays real solutions. Scapegoating once held the tribe together. Now, it just holds us back. But sometimes we don't just follow the crowd. We obey whoever's in charge. Obedience to authority. Humans are born with a built-in autopilot for following the leader. From childhood, we learn to listen to anyone who seems to be in charge. It's called obedience to authority, and it's hardwired deeper than we think. Early human bands needed coordination. Someone had to call the shots during a hunt or decide when to move camp. Respecting authority kept order and prevented chaos. Following the tribe's best hunter or wisest elder was how the group survived. But that same instinct can short-circuit in the modern world. In the 1960s, psychologist Stanley Milgram tested this by asking volunteers to give electric shocks to another person whenever they answered a question wrong. The shocks were fake, but the volunteers didn't know that, and most kept going even when the victim screamed in pain just because a man in a lab coat told them to. That's how powerful obedience can be. Today, we still see it. Employees afraid to speak up, cults worshiping false prophets, or influencers convincing millions to buy their meme coins. We still confuse confidence for competence, and that's how bad ideas get followers. Obedience once kept us alive. Now, without critical thinking, it can make us dangerously easy to steer. Our obedience may be wired in, but so is the need to look good while doing it. Reputation management. There's a tiny PR manager living in your brain. It's the voice that tells you to not post your picture unless you've added 5 filters. That little manager evolved to help you survive, not to boost your follower count. In small tribes, your reputation was your lifeline. Everyone knew everyone, so one bad move, hoarding food, skipping chores, lying, could get you labeled unreliable, and suddenly nobody shared with you. Keeping a good image meant you got fed, protected, and included in the group. We evolved to constantly monitor how others see us. That's why embarrassment hurts, like being punched in the soul. But today, that ancient instinct runs 24/7 in the age of selfies and social media. Now we're editing, filtering, and crisis managing our lives like unpaid publicists. Instead of protecting us from exile, it just fuels anxiety and comparison. And when managing our image isn't enough, we start comparing it to everyone else's. Social comparison. Humans can't help it. We're walking, talking, measuring sticks. From the moment we joined groups, we've sized ourselves up against everyone else. Who's stronger? Who's smarter? Who gets the better share of meat from the day's hunt? That ancient instinct helped our ancestors know their place and how to climb the ladder. Back then, comparison was useful. If your neighbor made sharper tools, you learned from them. If someone outran you, you trained harder. It was feedback for survival. But now, we've turned it into a full-time hobby, scrolling through filtered lives and wondering why ours doesn't look like a travel commercial. Constant upward comparison, seeing others as better off, tanks self-esteem and spikes anxiety. A little comparison can inspire growth. Too much just turns life into a leaderboard nobody wins. And sometimes, when we can't compete in the present, we romanticize the past. Nostalgia bias. Remember when everything felt simpler? Saturday morning cartoons, summer vacations that lasted forever, and zero back pain. That's nostalgia, your brain's favorite editing software. It clips out the boredom, filters the bad lighting, and uploads a highlight reel labeled "The Good Old Days." Originally, this bias helped us stay sane and connected. Remembering the past fondly kept early humans optimistic. If things were good once, maybe they'll be good again. Psychologists think it even helped with survival and reproduction. Mothers who didn't vividly remember the agony of childbirth were more likely to have more kids. Evolution, it seems, relies on selective memory. But today, nostalgia can trap us in a loop of, "it was better back then." We compare messy reality to a photoshopped past. And reality always loses. Studies show nostalgic reflection can boost happiness and creativity, but too much can make us resistant to change. Nostalgia once helped us endure hard times. Now it just convinces us that music from our generation was better than everything else. But nostalgia's rosy filter pairs nicely with another bug, the illusion we're smarter than we are. Overconfidence bias. Humans are walking confidence scams, mostly against ourselves. Ask a room of people if they're above average drivers, and nearly everyone raises a hand. Mathematically, half of them are wrong. That's overconfidence bias, the built-in tendency to believe we're smarter, faster, or luckier than we actually are. A little swagger helped our ancestors take shots they might have otherwise missed. Take a risky hunt, pitch a bold plan, try the unfamiliar path, but overconfidence doesn't check the map. It just floors the gas. Game theory models even show that a mildly delusional population can outcompete a realistic one. Believing you'll win makes you actually fight harder. That boost is useful, until reality sends the bill. In today's world, that same bias fuels bad startups, reckless investments, sports betting, and disastrous wars. It's why we overcommit, underprepare, and blame bad luck when things blow up. That confidence often makes us double down, especially when walking away would be smarter. Sunk cost fallacy. You've spent 2 hours watching a terrible movie, but you can't turn it off now. You've already invested too much time in being miserable. That's the sunk cost fallacy in action. The brain's refusal to walk away from a bad deal. Originally, this instinct made some sense. Our ancestors lived in unpredictable worlds where persistence often paid off. If a hunter gave up too soon, he might miss prey or fresh water just over the ridge. So evolution built us with a don't quit bias, honoring effort, even when logic says bail. It reinforced loyalty, consistency, and group trust. Nature basically decided it's better to waste energy than look flaky. But in the modern world, this wiring turns on us. We stay in failing jobs, doomed relationships, or bad investments because I've come this far. Economists call that irrational. Therapists call it exhausting. While evolution rewarded persistence, capitalism rewards knowing when to cut your losses. And when logic fails, we let superstition pretend it's in charge. Superstition. Your brain is basically a pattern hunting machine on caffeine. It connects dots, even when the dots don't exist. Knock on wood, crossing your fingers, wearing a gold thong to hit a baseball. That is actually real. You should look it up. All of these are tiny echoes of an ancient survival instinct. Back in the wild, spotting patterns meant life or death. Hear a rustle in the grass? Better assume it's a predator than the wind. Evolution rewarded paranoia. A few false alarms were fine if one correct guess saved your life. That same hyperactive pattern detector helped early humans notice real cause and effect. Dark clouds mean a storm. Smoke means fire. But it also made us see fake patterns. Rituals, charms, and good luck dances were early attempts to control the uncontrollable. Fast forward to now, and we're still running that ancient software in a world full of randomness. Breaking a mirror won't curse you, but your brain feels better. Pretending it knows the rules, scientists call it illusory pattern perception. We just call it superstition. When chaos spikes, so do rituals. Not because they work, but because doing something feels safer than doing nothing. Our brains invent patterns to control chaos, but sometimes they just want control of space itself. Territorial instincts. Deep down, every human has a tiny guard dog living in their brain. and it freaks out anytime someone parks too close. That's our ancient territorial instinct, the urge to mark, claim, and defend what's ours, whether it's a cave, a cubicle, or the last open treadmill at the gym. Back in prehistory, this reflex made perfect sense. Territory meant survival. The patch of land you protected held food, water, and shelter. Losing it could mean death. So evolution rewarded people who stood their ground, even if the cost was high. The instinct worked beautifully when the stakes were mammoths, not mailboxes. Now, that same wiring starts wars over parking spots, office chairs, and imaginary lines on maps. We guard our spaces online, too. From fandom turf wars to comment section crusades, and even once we've claimed our ground, we keep chasing the next thing that'll make us happy. Happiness wears off. You finally get the dream job, the new phone, or that shiny car you've always wanted since you were a kid, and a few weeks later, it all just feels so normal. That's your brain resetting its happiness meter. Psychologists call it hedonic adaptation, the reason joy fades faster than your phone battery. Evolution built this feature on purpose. Our ancestors couldn't afford to stay blissed out after one good hunt. They had to move on, find more food, and watch for predators. If pleasure lasted forever, someone dancing with joy over yesterday's berries wouldn't notice today's tiger lurking behind them. Adaptation kept us alert, not content. But now, it backfires. We keep chasing the next upgrade, the next trip, the next, "This will finally make me happy." Studies even show lottery winners return to their old happiness levels within a year. The thrill fades, the baseline resets, and we start hunting again. This time in the mall instead of the wild. Chasing the next dopamine hit makes living in the moment sound tempting, especially when it's designed by evolution. YOLO syndrome. We've all said, "I'll start tomorrow," and say the exact same thing the next day. That's your ancient brain doing temporal discounting, valuing a quick hit of pleasure today over bigger payoffs later. It's why we pick dessert over diets, impulse buys over retirement funds, and one more episode over 8 hours of sleep. For our ancestors, this made total sense. The future was a wild card. You could save food for later, and then a hyena might eat both you and the leftovers. Taking the reward now was the safer bet. That instinct worked great in an unpredictable world where later wasn't guaranteed. But today, that same wiring turns into a self-sabotage machine. We trade long-term gains for short-term comfort. Economists even have data. People regularly pick $50 now instead of $100 a year later. Evolution built us for surviving the moment, not for planning retirement funds. And finally, when survival meets self-promotion, it all ends on the modern stage of morality. Virtue signaling. If morality had a runway, virtue signaling would be the fashion show. It's the act of flaunting your values for an audience, posting the right hashtags, sharing the right outrage, or delivering heartfelt speeches, all from the comfort of the couch. In ancient tribes, showing moral loyalty actually mattered. Publicly condemning cheaters or praising generosity signaled you were trustworthy, someone worth cooperating with. Virtue signaling was social glue. Now, the same instinct has gone digital. We don't shout across the campfire. We post on social media. But the problem is that saying "I care" has become easier than showing it. Anyone can rack up moral points with a few keystrokes. It feels righteous, costs nothing, and sometimes helps no one. Still, it's not all bad. Public stances can spark awareness or inspire action. But let's be honest, sometimes it's less about saving the world and more about curating our feed. Blind spots. Try this. Close your left eye and look at the spot to your left with your right eye. As you bring your face closer or farther, the spot on the right will disappear. That's not a magic trick. That's your blind spot. You literally have a hole in your vision. Your retina, the light-sensitive layer at the back of your eye, is wired backward. Light has to pass through layers of nerve cells before it reaches the actual light sensors, called rods and cones. Then, those sensors send the signal back out to the brain through the optic nerve, which leaves a small hole in the retina. That hole, where the optic nerve leaves the eyeball to the brain, is your blind spot. But why did we end up with this weird setup? Long ago, evolution selected for our bodies to have our optic nerves start from the brain and grow outwards towards the eyes. This caused an inverted retina, or flipped wiring, where the cables run in front of the sensors instead of behind them. And evolution never bothered to reroute it. Octopuses, though, evolved their eyes separately. Their wiring runs the right way around. Light hits the sensors first, nerves sit neatly behind, and there's no blind spot at all. Basically, evolution gave us different versions of eyes, but ours clearly aren't the premium model. High cancer rates. Here's the cruel irony of evolution. The better we got at surviving, the better we got at getting cancer. Cancer isn't a virus or a bacteria, it's our own cells forgetting the rules. They stop listening, start multiplying, and basically form a biological revolt. For most of history, this wasn't a big problem. Our ancestors rarely lived past 40, so the body only needed to work perfectly through the parenting years. After that, evolution's warranty expired. The cellular repair systems that keep mutations in check start slacking off, and that's when cells can turn on you. Meanwhile, other animals seem to have cracked the code. Elephants, for example, have around 20 copies of a tumor suppressor gene called P53, a built-in cancer guard that destroys risky cells on sight. Whales, despite having thousands of times more cells than us, evolved other tricks to keep cancer rates low. Humans, on the other hand, only have one copy of P53 and the ability to cross our fingers and hope that's enough. Evolution's logic is simple. Live long enough to reproduce, raise the kids, and maybe see the grandkids. Mission accomplished. The rest of life is bonus time, and bonus time comes with trade-offs. Cancer isn't a flaw evolution meant to fix. It's the price of being multicellular and outliving nature's expectations. Back pain. Ever wonder why your back feels like it's one bad sneeze away from early retirement? You can thank evolution's do-it-yourself approach. Our spine's S-shape, especially that inward dip called lumbar lordosis, was a genius move when humans started walking upright. That curve shifts our center of gravity over our hips, balancing us like tightrope walkers on two legs and cushioning the impact of every step. But evolution didn't design a brand new spine. It remodeled one meant for four-legged life. Imagine taking a horizontal suspension bridge and rotating it upright. It works, but the tension points scream in protest. The result is a design that's great for motion, but awful for modern sitting. Prolonged hours at desks and weak core muscles magnify the strain, leading to chronic back pain and slipped discs. Even research backs this up. People who suffer from herniated discs have vertebrae that are shaped more like ape spines. Evolution gave us a curved spine so we could stand tall, but didn't realize we'd end up sitting all day. Crossing of air and food passages. You're laughing mid-bite at a party, and suddenly you feel like you might die from the tortilla chip you just scarfed down. That's not bad luck. That's bad anatomy. Humans breathe and eat through the same pipe. Our trachea, that's the windpipe carrying air to the lungs, and esophagus, the food tube to the stomach, cross paths in the throat, a design flaw that turns every meal into a trust exercise with our reflexes. This setup isn't new. It's an ancient hand-me-down from our fish ancestors. In early vertebrates, water flowed in through the mouth and out past the gills. Food and oxygen took coordinated but overlapping routes. When mammals evolved, we added a safety feature, the epiglottis, a small flap that helps close the airway during swallowing to keep food out of the lungs. But humans, ever the overachievers, evolved a lower-sitting voice box, or larynx. That change gave us a longer throat and a bigger range of possible sounds, great for chit-chat and storytelling, but terrible for choking hazards. So now we can recite poetry and sing songs, but one mistimed laugh can send soup into our lungs. Evolution traded safety for conversation, because humans are literally dying to talk. Easily torn ligaments. There's a reason every sports montage features someone collapsing in slow motion. Ligaments are the body's unsung heroes, and sometimes its biggest weak spots. These fibrous bands, like the anterior cruciate ligament, or ACL, act like biological cables, anchoring bones together and keeping joints stable through every twist, jump, and sprint. But evolution designed them for survival, not for highlight reels. Our ancestors didn't need ligaments that could withstand the torque of basketball pivots or the explosive turns of soccer. Their joints were built for endurance, steady walking, crouching, climbing, maybe a quick chase, not for the high-speed chaos of modern athletics. When we push those ancient structures into new extremes, something's bound to snap. What's worse is that ligaments don't heal easily and sometimes even require taking tissue from other parts of your body. With limited blood flow, once it's torn, it's like trying to fix a frayed rope sealed inside your body. Evolution gave us just enough flexibility to live, but not quite enough to dunk. Snoring and sleep apnea. If you've ever shared a room with a snorer, you know it's like sleeping next to a broken lawnmower, but that awful sound is really just a side effect of how our throats evolved for speech. Humans have a one-of-a-kind airway. Our voice box, or larynx, sits lower in the throat, and our tongues are large and super flexible, perfect for shaping the thousands of sounds we use in language. But this setup leaves the airway behind the tongue narrow and easy to block. As our faces flattened and our jaws shortened to make room for bigger brains, that space got even tighter. When we lie down, gravity and relaxed throat muscles let the tongue or soft palate fall backward, causing vibrations, that's snoring, or complete blockage. That's sleep apnea. Most other animals don't have this problem. Chimpanzees, for example, have a higher larynx that keeps their airway open. Great for steady breathing, but terrible for clear speech. Evolution basically traded safer sleep for the power of language. Brilliant for communication, not so great for bedtime. Humans have become the most eloquent species on Earth, but we're also the only ones who can keep the whole cave awake doing it. Overactive immune system. Imagine your body's defense system as an army with nothing to do. For most of human history, that army fought real invaders, bacteria, viruses, and especially parasites. But now, thanks to clean water, medicine, and soap, the battlefield's gone quiet, and a bored army is a dangerous one. That's basically what's happening when you sneeze at pollen or swell up from peanuts. Your immune system, trained for ancient warfare, starts launching missiles at dust, grass, or your own cells. It's not evil, just overzealous. Those same IgE antibodies that once helped expel worms now overreact to harmless everyday things, turning your body into a drama queen of histamines. Evolution built our immune systems for a dirtier world. Back then, better safe than sorry made sense. Overreacting meant survival. But in modern life, with few real threats, our defenses sometimes go haywire. The result? Allergies, autoimmune diseases, and immune meltdowns over microscopic nonsense. Turns out, evolution gave us elite bodyguards who are now looking for anything to punch. Fragile wrists. Right now, as you scroll or type, you're using a masterpiece of evolution and slowly annoying it to death. Our wrists were engineered for swinging through trees, not typing and scrolling. They're a collection of 8 tiny bones and a narrow tunnel packed with tendons and nerves, all held together by a tough strap of tissue called the carpal ligament. For our primate ancestors, this setup was perfect. It gave them the wrist flexibility to grip branches, throw tools, and hang around. Every motion was varied and balanced. But fast forward to today, and we use that same complex joint for the exact same motion, over and over again. Typing, scrolling, clicking, repeat. The tendons swell, the space tightens, and the median nerve gets squeezed like toothpaste in a capped tube. Congrats, you just discovered carpal tunnel. It's not a bad design, just outdated. Evolution built us for the jungle, not the office. We traded swinging through trees for spreadsheets, and our wrists are still filing complaints. Narrow birth canal. If evolution had a customer service line, this would be the top complaint. Why is giving birth so hard? The answer is bad geometry. Humans ended up with a narrow birth canal, and now they have to try to fit a baby with a massive brain through it. When our ancestors started walking upright, their pelvises had to reshape, narrower and sturdier to balance on 2 legs. That's great for walking, but terrible for giving birth. At the same time, babies evolved bigger heads to house those brilliant brains. The result is what scientists call the obstetric dilemma, a biological tug-of-war between walking efficiently and giving birth safely. To make it work, babies have to twist and turn like tiny contortionists during labor. Even then, it's often a tight squeeze. Before modern medicine, this design flaw made childbirth one of the most dangerous moments in a woman's life. Evolution's fix is simple. Make babies come out earlier, still squishy-brained and helpless but small enough to fit. Basically, humans are born halfway finished because our moms had to be able to walk and take care of us afterwards. Poor ear drainage. If you were a kid who spent half your life with ear infections, you can thank evolution's worst plumbing job. The eustachian tube, a narrow canal that's supposed to drain fluid from your middle ear into your throat, doesn't always work properly. When it fails, fluid collects behind the eardrum, germs multiply, and suddenly your ear hurts and everything sounds like it's underwater. In children, this problem is even worse. Their eustachian tubes are short, soft, and nearly horizontal, like trying to drain a sink through a straw that's lying flat. Gravity can't help, so liquid just sits there, inviting infection. As we grow, the skull tilts and lengthens, and the tubes angle downward a bit more, which is why adults usually get fewer ear infections than kids. The deeper cause is evolutionary. As humans evolved bigger brains and developed speech, our skulls reshaped, flatter faces, longer throats, and a lowered voice box. All those changes distorted the perfect drainage angle animals still have. Evolution gave us upright posture, intelligence, and conversation. But the trade-off was a drainage system that can't handle its own leaks. Overreactive pain system. Pain is like the body's fire alarm, loud, annoying, and absolutely essential. Without it, you'd burn your hand on a stove or break your ankle and keep walking like nothing happened. People born without pain sensation often injure themselves constantly because pain is our built-in "don't do that again" signal. But here's the catch. Sometimes that alarm keeps sounding off long after the fire's been put out. That's chronic pain. Your nerves keep screaming even when nothing's wrong, It's like having a smoke detector that goes off because someone lit a candle. Conditions like migraines, fibromyalgia, or nerve pain are examples of this alarm gone haywire. Evolution likely tuned pain sensitivity to err on the side of caution. Better too much warning than too little. Back in the wild, that made sense. Lingering pain forced rest, letting injuries heal fully before hunting again. But in modern life, where we have medicine, couches, and bandages, that same hyper-alert system can become torture. Our pain system isn't useless, just overzealous. Evolution gave us the alarm to survive, but forgot to install an off switch. Tooth crowding. Your mouth is basically a real estate crisis. Too many tenants, not enough space. Somewhere along the evolutionary line, our jaws decided to downsize. But our teeth never got the memo. Early humans had big, beefy jaws, built for chewing raw roots and tearing through meat tougher than an overcooked steak. Back then, wisdom teeth were the backup grinders, your third set for when the others wore down. But once we started cooking and eating softer foods, jawbones shrank. Evolution saw that chewing was easy now and made smaller faces. Meanwhile, teeth just kept showing up to the party like uninvited guests. Now, our mouths are like overcrowded nightclubs. Teeth fight for space, wisdom teeth crash into jawbones, and dentists profit like bouncers charging at the door. In essence, evolution decided to ignore the meaning of full capacity. Prone to hemorrhoids. You know that feeling, after sitting too long, when your legs go numb and your lower half feels like it's filing a complaint. That's your body reminding you it was never built for endless chair time. Hemorrhoids, those swollen veins in the lower rectum, are the painful price of standing tall. In our four-legged ancestors, gravity was spread out horizontally, so blood didn't have to fight uphill battles. But once humans stood upright, gravity started pulling on every drop of blood in our legs and pelvis. Our veins had to evolve tiny one-way valves and rely on muscle contractions to push blood back to the heart. Problem is, the veins around the rectum don't get much muscle help. They're basically on their own at the bottom of the vertical plumbing system. Add modern life, long hours sitting, little movement, and you've got a perfect recipe for pressure buildup. The veins stretch, swell, and finally, hemorrhoids. It's like evolution built a skyscraper, but forgot to reinforce the basement pipes. So, while bipedalism gave us hands to text and cook, it also left us literally sitting on one of evolution's most uncomfortable design flaws. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment below if there are any interesting topics you would like to learn more about. Now back to the video.
Reaction to spicy food. You bite into a fiery chili, and suddenly your throat seizes up, eyes water, nose runs, and you start coughing up a lung. The culprit is capsaicin, the molecule in hot peppers that tricks your nerves into thinking you're being burned alive. It binds to the pain sensor called TRPV1, the same ones that detect heat and pain, and your brain sounds the fire alarm. Evolution designed this reaction to keep mammals safe. To your body, capsaicin looks like a toxin, so it launches every defense: cough to clear the airways, sneeze to eject the irritant, sweat to cool off. Totally sensible if you're a wild animal who just bit into the wrong plant thinking it's a tasty berry, but less so if you're a human who paid extra for ghost pepper fries. Modern society might have invented the most delicious fusion food like kimchi pizza, but your body's outdated alarm system still can't tell the difference between danger and dinner. Aversion to screeching. Someone drags their nails down a chalkboard and you shiver like you've seen a ghost. Instant goosebumps and jaw clenching. You're not dramatic. That's just your brain running on ancient software. Those shrill frequencies, around 2,000 to 4,000 hertz, are the exact range our ears are tuned to detect when danger calls. These calls include the cries of a baby, or when primates send out a screeching alarm. Back in the day, hearing that tone might have meant predator nearby, or someone in the clan is in trouble. So your brain learned to drop everything and pay attention. The amygdala, your emotional panic button, still lights up when it hears those sounds. Today, the worst threat might sound like the screech of scratching a chalkboard. There's no leopard or danger. It's just a sensory prank. But evolution never updated the code. Your ears still treat the sound like an emergency, while your rational brain's stuck saying, "Relax, it's just school." Motion sickness. You're on a cruise, the waves are rolling, and suddenly your stomach joins the party, in the worst way possible. That cold sweat and nausea. Classic motion sickness. It feels random, but evolution might be responsible for this mess. When your inner ear tells your brain, "We're moving," but your eyes say you're sitting still because you're looking at your phone, the brain gets conflicting data and lashes out. To a primitive mind, that kind of sensory confusion meant one thing: poison. Our ancestors probably ate some toxic plant, got dizzy and disoriented, but managed to survive by throwing it up. So now, your modern brain thinks your vacation cruise ride is a hallucinogenic berry emergency. The problem? In the 21st century, there's usually no toxin to purge, just a poor tourist hanging over the side of a boat while everyone else enjoys the view. It's evolution's worst false alarm. A better safe than sorry system that's about 10,000 years past its expiration date. Fainting. You see a needle or a drop of blood. Suddenly the world tilts, your vision tunnels, and thud. You're out cold. That's your body pulling the most theatrical move in biology called vasovagal syncope, better known as fear-induced fainting. And believe it or not, evolution might have thought this was genius. One theory says it's the human version of playing dead. In the wild, some animals survive by collapsing and going limp. Possums, fainting goats, even certain deer fawns. Predators prefer struggling prey, so looking lifeless could make them lose interest. For early humans, lying still mid-panic might have been just enough to make the attacker move on. The reflex slows your heart, drops your blood pressure, and sends you flat, conveniently restoring blood flow to your brain while you're pretending to be roadkill. Fast forward to now. The only thing this reflex protects you from is finishing your doctor's appointment. Evolution's ancient play-dead system now just interrupts modern life with a surprise reboot. Itch reflex. You know that sudden, unstoppable urge to scratch an itch? The one that feels so good for half a second, until it itches again? That's not random. It's a built-in reflex designed to save your ancestors from becoming an all-you-can-eat buffet for parasites. Back when humans were hairier and bugs were plentiful, a light tickle on the skin usually meant something small and bitey had landed. The instant response to scratch, flick, or swat helped remove the intruder before it could bite or spread disease. Itching might even be contagious by design. If one monkey started scratching, others joined in, like a prehistoric group chat for "We've got fleas." That synchronized scratching actually helped keep entire groups cleaner. Fast forward to today. We're mostly bug-free, but the reflex still exists, just at the wrong things. Now, your tag itches, your dry skin itches, even hearing about itching probably made you itchy. You're welcome. The itch reflex went from vital parasite defense to everyday nuisance. Sweaty palms. Your heart's pounding as you stroll down the street with your date. She looks stunning and you want to make a move, so you reach for her hand. But your hand is more wet paper towel than romantic gesture. Thanks, sweaty palms. That clammy feeling you just experienced is part of your ancient fight-or-flight reflex, and for your ancestors, it might have been the difference between survival and a nasty fall. When early humans faced danger, the body flooded with adrenaline. Sweat glands on the palms kicked in to boost grip. Slight moisture increases friction, helping you cling to tree branches, scramble up rocks, or keep hold of a weapon. In other words, fear literally gave you better traction. Fast forward to today, and that same reflex just ruins handshakes and first dates. You don't need stickier hands for a stroll through the park, but your body still acts like you're dangling from a cliff. It's evolution's oldest anxiety tell, a leftover panic grip that no amount of antiperspirant can fully silence. Blushing. You say something awkward in front of your boss, and your face turns tomato red. You can't hide it, can't stop it, and the harder you try, the redder you get. That's blushing. Your blood vessels widening under the skin and flooding your cheeks with color, powered by your body's favorite prankster, the sympathetic nervous system. Darwin called blushing the most peculiar and most human expression, and he was right. No other animal does it. Scientists think it started as a kind of honest alarm in early social groups. When our ancestors messed up, lied, broke a rule, or got caught doing something dumb, their involuntary blush basically screamed, "I'm sorry. Please don't kick me out of the tribe." People who blushed got forgiven faster, making it evolution's version of conflict resolution, in red. These days, it's mostly just inconvenient. You can blush from praise, attention, or even nothing at all. It's like your body leaking emotions you didn't approve of for public release. Useful in the Stone Age, mortifying in professional settings. Onion tears. You're chopping onions when suddenly your eyes launch a full sprinkler system. Turns out, when you slice an onion, it releases a gas called syn-propanethyl S-oxide, basically nature's tear gas. It reacts with the moisture in your eyes to form a mild acid, irritating the nerves around your eyes called the lacrimal nerve. Your brain panics and orders the tear glands to flood the area, hoping to wash the toxin out. From the onion's point of view, this is brilliant self-defense. You eat me? I make you cry. This chemical in the onion evolved to keep hungry animals away. From the human point of view, total overreaction. Your body treats meal prep like a chemical spill. The tears are the same reflex that would save your eyes from smoke or pepper spray, just hilariously misplaced during soup night. We've adapted around it, of course. Chill the onion, wear goggles, turn on a fan. We've evolved crazy kitchen hacks, just not new eyeballs. Hypnic jerks. You're drifting off to sleep, all cozy and peaceful. Then suddenly, your whole body jolts like you've just been tased. Congratulations, you've just experienced a hypnic jerk, one of evolution's weirdest leftovers. Scientists think this reflex dates back to when our ancestors slept in trees. As they nodded off, their muscles relaxed, and relaxing too much could mean tumbling out of the canopy. So, nature installed an emergency wake-up jolt. Fast forward a few million years, and your nervous system is still running that same old system. Only now, instead of hanging off bark, you're flailing in bed, startling your partner, and wondering if you just lost a dream wrestling match. Today, the reflex does zero good. It's your body's safety system misfiring in a safe environment. Some people get it more when stressed or overtired. Evolution's old tree sleeper instinct now just yeets us out of dreamland for no reason at all. Shivering. You know that full body tremble that hits when you're cold? Teeth chattering, shoulders twitching, legs bouncing like you're auditioning for a jitterbug? That's shivering, your body's built-in furnace. It's triggered by the hypothalamus, the brain's temperature control center, which basically commands your body to start shaking before you turn into a popsicle. Each tiny muscle contraction burns energy and releases heat, and when millions of them happen at once, your body temperature starts to climb. For early humans huddled in caves without coats, this reflex was life-saving, the biological equivalent of rubbing sticks together for warmth. Along with goosebumps and constricted blood vessels, it kept vital organs from icing over during the long, frigid nights. Today, though, we have jackets, heaters, and hot chocolate. Shivering is evolution's emergency furnace still running in the background. Handy if you fall into icy water, not so much for surviving the office AC. Startle reflex. Bang! Someone drops a plate, and you jolt like you've just been cast in a horror movie. That lightning-fast flinch, eyes squeezing shut, shoulders tensing, heart jumping, is your startle reflex in action. It's an ancient body alarm that kicks in before you even realize what happened. The brainstem hears danger first, sends an instant duck and cover signal, and your muscles obey before your conscious brain can tell you to relax, because it's just the mischievous cat pushing your belongings off the table. For our ancestors, this split-second reaction was a pure survival technique. A sudden rustle could mean a predator leaping, and those who blinked, tensed, or bolted first lived to tell the tale, and pass on their genes. Basically, evolution taught us to panic early and ask questions later. Now this reflex mostly turns on in restaurants, when balloons pop, or when you spill your latte on yourself. The reflex still does its job like protecting your eyes, but in a modern world lacking tigers, it's more comedic than life-saving. Pee shivers. You finish peeing, and suddenly your body gives a full body shake, like you just felt a rush of cold air. You've just experienced the legendary pee shivers, or, if you want to sound fancy, post-micturition convulsion syndrome. Scientists can describe it but can't explain why it happens. That's still a bathroom mystery. One theory blames temperature. Urine carries a lot of heat, and if you're standing in cool air, that brief heat loss might trigger a mini shiver to make you feel warmer and make up the difference. Another theory blames crossed wires in your autonomic nervous system, the automatic control network that runs your heart, bladder, and digestion. When your bladder empties, your body switches from the hold it in mode, sympathetic system, to the release mode, parasympathetic system. Afterward, the system rebalances, and that rapid change in blood pressure and nerve signals can briefly jolt your muscles, like your body's circuits flickering as they reset. Whatever the cause, it's useless. It doesn't help you pee better, stay warm, or impress anyone. It's just your body glitching at the finish line of your bathroom break. Contagious crying. You're watching a sad movie scene, and suddenly your eyes sting. That's contagious crying, an ancient empathy reflex that still tugs on your tear ducts today. Even newborns do it. If one baby starts bawling, nearby babies often join in like a tiny, chaotic choir. Long before baby monitors, this reflex was actually quite helpful. If one infant cried because it was hungry, cold, or in danger, others joining in created an irresistible alarm for caregivers. A single cry might go unnoticed, but a chorus demanded attention. As humans evolved, that raw, automatic empathy matured into emotional connection, the foundation of friendship, parenting, and compassion itself. Now, it's more symbolic than useful. You don't need to tear up when someone else does, but it happens anyway. It might be a little embarrassing, but it just shows you care, and an evolutionary reminder that humans are built to feel together. Palmar grasp reflex. Ever put your finger in a newborn's palm and felt them clamp down? That's the palmar grasp reflex, one of the oldest tricks in our evolutionary playbook. It's automatic, powerful, and completely adorable. For our primate ancestors, this reflex was serious business. Baby monkeys needed to cling to their mother's fur while she leapt through trees or escaped danger. A grip that triggered instantly meant survival. Human babies inherited the same don't let go instinct, back when moms were hairier and tree branches were part of the daily commute. Today, though, the reflex is mostly for cute reactions from new parents. Modern moms aren't covered in fur, and babies don't travel through branches. The reflex fades after a few months, replaced by deliberate grasping. It's one of nature's funniest leftovers, proof that even before we could crawl, we were hanging on for dear life. Wisdom teeth. Thousands of years ago, our ancestors were chomping on raw roots and half-cooked meat. Their jaws were bigger, tougher, and built for survival. That's where wisdom teeth came in, the third row of molars, way in the back, ready to crush whatever nature served up. Fast forward to today, our food is soft, our utensils do the heavy lifting, and suddenly, those extra teeth are about as useful as the default compass app on your phone that you've opened maybe once. They show up late, usually between ages 17 and 25, and cause nothing but drama. Impacted teeth, infections, and the infamous extraction videos where teens confess their deepest secrets under anesthesia. The irony? Millions of people don't even grow wisdom teeth anymore, thanks to evolution. So if you still have yours, congrats. You're rocking prehistoric hardware in a modern world. Third eyelid. Next time you look in the mirror, peek at the pinkish fold in the corner of your eye. That's the plica semilunaris, the leftover scraps of a third eyelid. In animals like falcons or cats, the nictitating membrane is a full-on windshield wiper for the eyeball, sliding across sideways to keep things moist and protected while still letting them see. Falcons literally blink mid-200 miles per hour dive, and woodpeckers use theirs right before smashing into a tree. It's nature's built-in safety goggles. Humans? We just got the demo version. The fold doesn't move, doesn't cover your eye, and doesn't really do anything besides maybe help with tear drainage. Evolution basically denied us the full feature set. Lots of different animals have this third eyelid. Your dog, your cat, even polar bears. Ours is just a decorative corner flap. Thanks, evolution. Appendix. Imagine being an ancient human, surviving on plants so tough they'd make kale seem like cotton candy. Back then, the appendix was very important. A pouch filled with helpful bacteria that broke down cellulose, the stiff structural component found in plant cell walls. Think of the appendix as a built-in compost bin, turning chewy greens into fuel. Fast forward to modern humans. That pouch has shrunk to a flimsy finger-like tube dangling off your large intestine. It doesn't help much with digestion anymore, but it does have one modern talent: randomly staging a medical emergency. Appendicitis hits about 1 in 10 people in their lifetime, which is why surgeons joke the appendix's main job is to keep them employed. And yet, evolution might not have fully kicked it to the curb. Some scientists think the appendix acts like backup storage for good gut bacteria, replacing those guys in your intestines after nasty infections. Not essential, but kind of neat, until it decides to blow up your weekend plans. Tonsils. Open your mouth wide in the mirror and look way in the back of your throat. Those lumpy bits on either side? That's your palatine tonsils, little immune outposts stationed right at the front gates of your airway. In kids, they're like the first line of defense, spotting germs early and kicking off an immune response. Specialized cells inside tonsils help your body learn what's dangerous and build up memory for future defenses. But here's the twist. You can lose them and still be totally fine. Other tissues with immune functions can pick up the slack, like adenoids and lymph nodes. That's why millions of kids had their tonsils removed in the mid-1900s for chronic infections. It got so common it was practically a school tradition. By adulthood, tonsils shrink and their immune role fades, which leaves many scientists wondering, are they actually needed or just throat clutter? Tailbone. Once upon a time, your ancestors actually had tails. Not TikTok filters or attachable tails that you see in Halloween stores, but real functional tails. They were great for balance when climbing trees or jumping between branches. But as humans traded the treetops for walking upright, the tail shrank away, leaving behind only a stubby reminder, the coccyx, or tailbone, tucked at the very end of your spine. Evolution basically left us with the remnants of a product we never got to use. Today, the tailbone doesn't do much. Sure, a few muscles and ligaments still attach there, and it helps spread weight when you sit. But if surgeons remove it, nothing collapses. Every human embryo does grow a tail for a few weeks before deleting it, like an embarrassing draft tweet. Occasionally, babies are born with tiny, harmless tail-like nubs. Proof that evolution loves a glitch. Goosebump muscles. Ever get chills and see those little bumps rise on your arms? That's your erector pili muscles at work. Each tiny muscle is hooked up to a hair follicle, and when they contract, the hair stands up. The result? Goosebumps. Today, it's mostly just a neat trick your skin can do. But in our furrier ancestors, this reflex was serious business. Raising body hair trapped a layer of warm air to keep them cozy. It also made them look bigger when threatened. The same way a cat puffs up when it's startled. For humans, though, with barely any body hair, the effect is less intimidating. Nobody's backing away from a guy with bristly leg hair. However, these muscles aren't totally useless. Research shows they help keep hair follicles healthy and may even be involved in hair regrowth. So every goosebump you've ever had is basically your body's maintenance check on your hair follicle. Functional in theory, funny in practice. Ear muscles. Try this. Raise your eyebrows. Easy. Now, try to wiggle your ears. If you can do it, welcome to the 10 to 20% of humans who inherited this quirky talent. If not, don't worry. Your ears aren't broken. They're just showing that they have some lazy muscles. They're called the auricular muscles, tiny bands that connect your outer ear to your scalp. Long ago, they let our ancestors swivel their ears toward rustling predators or tasty prey, just like cats or dogs do today. In modern humans, they're pretty useless. Most of us just turn our whole head when we want to hear better. But the muscles are there. And fun fact, even people who can't wiggle their ears show tiny sparks of activity in these muscles when straining to listen in noisy places. It's like evolution left us with a hidden focus feature. So if you can wiggle your ears on command, congrats. You've got a unique talent the rest of us only dream about. Male nipples. Every human body starts with the same design plan in early development. Around weeks 4 to 6 of pregnancy, nipples form before the body decides whether the baby will develop male or female traits. By the time that decision happens a week or so later, the nipples are already in place. It's like building a car, but out of order. You don't know if it's going to be a sedan or an SUV, electric or gas-powered, but you've already decided what cup holders to use inside. For men, nipples don't have a major job. They almost never produce milk, though rare cases of male lactation have been documented in humans. Even more surprisingly, in certain species like fruit bats, the males actually feed their young. About 1 to 5% of people even have extra nipples, usually tiny and mistaken for freckles. Harry Styles, for example, has 4, proof that evolution occasionally forgets to count. So, why keep them? Because evolution is lazy about deleting harmless features. Male nipples are just the cup holders of biology. Not essential, occasionally surprising, but too minor to bother redesigning. Sinuses. Behind your cheeks, forehead, and eyes are hollow chambers called sinuses. They're basically air pockets carved into your skull, with names that sound made up: maxillary, frontal, ethmoid, and sphenoid. Everyone's got them, but their size and shape vary wildly. A few rare folks have none at all, and still live perfectly normal lives. Scientists can't quite agree on what these spaces are for. Maybe they lighten the skull so we're not lugging around bowling ball heads. Maybe they act like acoustic chambers, giving our voices a bit more resonance. Some argue they help warm and humidify air, or even serve as crumple zones to protect the brain if you take a punch to the face. Honestly, sinuses are the Swiss Army knife of maybe useful, maybe not. What we do know is that they grow throughout your life. They cause endless sinus infections, and they've basically built a reputation as squatters, big, empty rooms in your head that evolution never bothered to evict. Palmaris longus. Make a fist, then bend your wrist like you're showing off imaginary biceps. Look at the middle of your wrist. If a tendon pops up, congrats. You've got a palmaris longus. If nothing shows, also great. You're totally normal. About 1 in 5 people don't have this muscle at all, and they're not missing a thing. Grip strength, texting speed, Mario Kart performance, all perfectly intact. So why do some of us have it? In our tree-dwelling ancestors, it probably added extra grip strength for branch swinging. Today, it's about as necessary as a caps lock key. In fact, surgeons love to borrow this muscle for tendon grafts because it's basically spare parts. Even when it does show up, it's quirky. Some people have 2 of them, reversed ones, or versions that attach in all sorts of weird ways. Evolution clearly had a just wing it phase when designing forearms. Ear bumps. Some people inherit grandma's eyes, and a lucky 10% inherit a random little ear bump. If you've got a tiny lump on the rim of your ear, congrats. Evolution left you a free sample called Darwin's point. Way back, our ancestors had sharper, more elfish ears that funneled sound like nature's AirPods. That extra curve helped detect predators sneaking in the bushes. But once humans started relying more on big brains and swiveled heads, the pointy ear bonus faded away. Now it's shrunk down into a nub that does exactly nothing, doesn't boost hearing, doesn't hurt anything. But it has become a quirky genetic marker. Some families pass it down like a secret heirloom. Darwin thought it was living proof that our bodies are patchwork projects. And honestly, he wasn't wrong. Evolution loves a half-finished job. Vomeronasal organ. Lots of animals have an extra sensor in their noses called the vomeronasal organ. It's like a secret smell detector that picks up pheromones, chemical signals that say things like, "Fight me," or "This tree is mine." Snakes flick their tongues to feed info straight into it. Cats use it for social sniffing. It's basically the group chat of the animal kingdom, but with smells. Humans, we got left behind. Most of us still have a tiny fold at the base of the divider between our nostrils. That thin wall of cartilage down the middle of your nose, that's the VNO. But here's the sad part. It's not hooked up to the brain. The wires are cut so it can't send signals or communicate with the brain. So while your cat is getting full chemical gossip, your nose is just sitting there clueless. We lost the feature, but evolution forgot to take the hardware from our bodies. Subclavius. Tucked quietly under your collarbone is a muscle you've probably never heard of, the subclavius. It runs from your first rib up to the underside of the clavicle, like a tiny strap no one asked for. Technically, it helps steady your collarbone. Realistically, other muscles and ligaments already do that job just fine. If the subclavius went on permanent vacation, your shoulders wouldn't even notice. But in our 4-legged ancestors, this muscle likely mattered a lot more. Imagine running on all 4s. Your collarbone needs to stay anchored while the rest of your body bounces around. For humans walking upright, the workload shifted elsewhere, leaving the subclavius like an intern with no assignments. Still, it's not completely irrelevant. Scientists note it may offer a little padding if the collarbone breaks, shielding blood vessels beneath. A decent backup plan, but hardly headline material. Evolution kept it on staff, but only in the most minor supporting role.